Ayan, good afternoon po sa lahat ng ating participants in this afternoon's webinar. Thank you very much. So, before we proceed with our program, let me just acknowledge some members of the audience. Of course, wag nating kalimutan pasalamatan at i-acknowledge ang presence ng ating mga dearest professors from Trimex colleges. Of course, our students from the education department. Ayan, welcome sa inyong lahat. Ito pa. So let me acknowledge our participants from Pangasinan State University, Bayambang Campus. Thank you for attending today. And then we also have our incoming students from Hong Kong. Yan. Thank you very much po sa inyong pagdalo. I have noticed that you are very active in attending our webinars, and we really do appreciate that. Additional learnings po yun. And then we have Ma'am Jeanette Kyohilag from Jacobo. Yan. Sino pa? Si Ma'am Yonila De Jesus from Apex. Si Ma'am Amabel Garcia, head teacher ng grade 10, also from Apex. And we have Ma'am Janina Limbag from Binyan Integrated National High School. Thank you very much po sa inyong pagdalo. Yan, we really appreciate your presence today. And just to add, napakaswerte po natin. No? We are very lucky to have our distinguished resource speaker for today. Later on, makikilala po natin siya. I would also like to invite everybody in advance for the upcoming webinars from Trimex colleges. Meron pa po ang College of Education for the technical vocational system. Aabangan po ninyo yan, i-announce po namin. And ang pinaka-aabangan from the business department. Yan, we have the upcoming and most awaited business summit from the business department. We are try to check out our FB page at makikita ninyo ang mga surprises. We have surprises in store for everybody. So yeah, napakalaking event po niyan, and that will be on April 25th at 2 to 5 in the afternoon. So hope to see you all there. So again, ayan, a pleasant afternoon to everybody, to all our guests and participants for this afternoon's webinar entitled Legal Basis of the Philippine Education System. Now we will officially start the program, so I would like to request everyone for a moment of silence for the invocation, to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem and the Trimex hymn.
kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, telas ang sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng bagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ay di magdidinig. Lumalang araw ng walhagin pagsinta, huwag langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya ng pagkay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Tomorrow will be another day on struggling roads of different ways. Roads may be rough on me, but I'll be strong. You taught me to trust in God that I may go on. But as life continues, I know I'll be missing you. You have prepared me to face the world. Triumphs, you are so dear to me. I will uphold your values to my community. You have shown the light. I want to thank you for what you've done for me. Now the future will be so bright. I want to be my generation's guide. Set an example to live by a truth, to make a difference for tomorrow's youth. But as life continues,
Now, before we proceed with our opening remarks from our hello, yeah. Okay, so before we proceed with our opening remarks, let me again acknowledge our dearest faculty members from Trimex Colleges. We have Ma'am Pradel, Sir Amparo. Of course, we have Dr. Mary Ann Tatlong Maria. We have Ma'am Leonora Organya, Ma'am Joanne Guillen, Sir Darren Nicasio is also here. Miss Bernadette Pacala, thank you very much for your presence, everyone. We also have here our SDO from Santa Rosa City. Yan. Thank you very much for your attendance. Let's also acknowledge marami na po tayong members ng audience from Pangasinan State University, Bayambang Campus. Thank you very much for attending. Now, at this point, I would also like to mention that Sir Kent Torres, our dear Sir Kent Torres from the College of Education, cannot join us in today's webinar because he is attending his online graduation from his master's. Ayan. Congratulations, Sir Kent. Hope you can hear this. Now, at this juncture, let us all listen to the welcome remarks of our dearest Vice President for Academics and Student Services, none other than Dr. Rito A. Camigla Jr.
I would like to welcome everyone to the new normal. Alam nyo, maraming pagbabago ang binigay sa atin ng pandemyang ito. Mula sa kabuhayan at pati na rin sa kung paano tayo makikisalamuha. Lahat tayo ay binago ng COVID-19 pandemic. Subalit sa isang banda, ay may naidulot din naman itong magandang aral para sa ating lahat. Katulad ng pagpapahalaga sa pamilya, sa kung ano ang meron at iniingatan natin. Sa nakalipas sa 10 buwan, pinatunayan natin ang tatag ng mga Pilipino. Hindi natin inaasahan ang bilis ng mga pangyayari na halos lahat ay cashless na kung gusto mong kumain, ay magpa-deliver ka. Kung magbabayad ka ng bills, ay pwede na online. Shopping, banking, at kung ano-ano pa. Pero alam nyo, lahat ng yan ay napaghandaan na ng Trimex Colleges. Mula sa online payment, enrollment, records, and even the conduct of classes. At sa hapong ito, tayo ay magiging bahagi ng isang mahalagang gawain, handa para lamang sa atin. Namnamin ang bawat salita at bawat minuto at nawa ay matuto tayo. Maraming salamat at magandang araw sa ating lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Camigla, for that inspiring message. Now, moving on, the next part of our program is the introduction to our guest speaker, to be given to us by our very own, one of our college professors from the College of Education, Ma'am Edita Pradel.
Hello po. Ma'am, nakamute po yung mic niyo, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
This task of introducing our guest speaker is a great privilege. I know this one is difficult, but the thought that she's a woman of virtue and simplicity, I feel elated to introduce her to everyone in this webinar. She is a very young lawyer who resides at Jubilation East Homeowners Village, Barangay Platero, Binyan City, Laguna. She graduated from De La Salle University, Manila, with a Bachelor of Arts major in psychology in May 2011. She obtained her Bachelor of Laws from the University of Perpetual Health System, Laguna, in April 2016. Then she passed the bar examination in May 2017. She started her job as a recruitment associate in Convergys Alabang from January 2012 up to May 2012. She also worked as a college instructor from October 2012 up to May 2013 at Cavite State University, Laguna, Carmona. At present, she holds the position of Attorney 3 at the Department of Education, Division of Binyan. She's also a corporate secretary, HR department assistant head, and a legal consultant of Rich Power Construction and Management since March 2016 up to present. What is more impressive about her is her generosity to share her experiences and knowledge about the legal basis of Philippine educational system. Without further ado, let's welcome Attorney Nestle Ray P. Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you for the generous introduction, ma'am. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Attorney Cruz from the Department of Education, Schools Division's Office of Binyan. Before anything else, hi, Ma'am Marie. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, Ma'am Des. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes
And
po.
hello also to my parents who are watching right now. Good afternoon, everyone, to especially the professors of Trimex, students as well, and maybe also the management of Trimex might be watching, and all other members of the SDO Benyan and SDO Santa Rosa. Hello, good afternoon. So today, I would be discussing to you the legal basis of the Philippine education system. So, next slide, please. Yan. So, if you're going to research about the legal basis of the education system of our country, there is a long list of Republic Acts, halo-halo yan eh, Republic Act, Commonwealth Act, Batasang Pambansa, even as early as 1930, meron tayong makikitang batas that may still be applicable to the present educational system. So, because of that, we do not have the luxury to discuss all of that. So what I did was I handpicked several topics for the best interest of the audience. So dahil I was informed na meron tayong mga estudyante dito under Bachelor of Technical Teacher Education, we are maybe also from other courses, baka meron din ditong mga estudyante, mga professors, and also part of the school management. I picked the best topics that could be applicable to all audience, to all types of audience that we have right now. So next slide, please. So we will start with the Commonwealth. Ito yung isa sa mga legal basis. Just a few, one of the few actually, of the Republic Acts and other laws na hanggang ngayon nagagamit natin. So CA or Commonwealth Act number 589 is also called the School Ritual Act. So what is this about? Dito nagsimula, well, this was enacted 1940. So it's probably older than every one of us here. But yet, we still use this. So ano itong School Ritual Act? Ito yung batas na nagmamandato sa lahat ng eskwelahan na magkaroon ng flag ceremony. So yung pagkanta ng ating national anthem, yung iba pang ritual like yung panunumpa sa watawat, ito ang nagmamandate sa ating lahat na magkaroon nun at least once a week. So it's been active. This law has been active since 1940. So just imagine if we are going to discuss everything from 1940 till 2020, baka tayo ay makatulog. So just giving you a little bit of a background as to what legal bases are, I will discuss a few to you. So next would be the Republic Act 1425 or Rizal Law. I think everyone in our Zoom classroom, or what do you call this, virtual conference, and those who are on Facebook Live right now, I think wala sa atin ang hindi makakagraduate ng high school at kolehiyo kung hindi kilala si Rizal. And this law was enacted 1956. So, matanda lang ng konti ang tatay ko, but I think this is 60 years. It has been, it's being implemented for more than 60 years already. So this mandates that all schools, both elementary and even college, should teach the Rizal Law. So what is part of the Rizal Law? Ang ituturo ng eskwelahan ay yung buhay ni Rizal at yung kanyang mga ginawang obra like Nolive Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, and maybe even some of you know the Mi Ultimo Adios, the poem of Rizal before he died. So let's move on to Republic Act 4670, or the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. For all students who are aspiring to become public school teachers someday, pag napasa niyo yung LET nyo, this will be applicable to you. Siguro sa iba sa inyo, kine-question bakit public school teachers lang? Bakit hindi kasama ang private school? Later on, you will realize, and I will also discuss a little, kung bakit walang Magna Carta for private school teachers. So what is RA 4670 about? This set the standard kung sino ang pwedeng mag-qualify as public school teachers. Their working hours, even the code of conduct of public school teachers are listed here. The same with the conditions of employment, yung public school teachers are this is only available to those who are public school teachers up to senior high o hanggang high school lang. But this does not apply to professors in state universities or colleges. So yung RA 4670, dito nagsasaad kung ilan ang pwede mong leave, ilan ang ano ang kondisyon ng trabaho mo, 6 hours lang ang work mo, and then the other 2 hours can be used for other extracurricular activities of the teachers, yung mga extra responsibilities nila sa school, and so on and so forth. Okay, so RA 232 is an Education Act of 1982. So what is this RA 232 na ito? This is still active again, so hindi pa siya nare-repeal. The RA 232 talks about, it covers the responsibilities, duties, and students, parents of those involved in school. So dito nakasaad lahat ng responsibilidad nyo, yung obligasyon nyo, kung ano ba dapat ang ginagawa ng school, ano ba dapat ginagawa ng parents, ano rin ba dapat ang role ng mga estudyante, and how should they be treating their teachers and the management of the school. The same with teachers, how should they be treating their students, and also their relationship with their colleagues. It has also provided the hierarchy of formal education. Kung naririnig nyo, meron tayong elementary level, meron tayong high school level, and at the same time, also we have the tertiary level, kasama dito ang graduate schools. And also, if narinig nyo na to, rule on recognition, dahil every year, the DepEd or Department of Education actually receives application for the operation of their school. So every year yan. However, meron tayong tinatawag na recognition being granted by the department na hindi ka nai-inspect every year for this, but rather, if I'm not mistaken, I think every 5 years, if I'm not mistaken po. So you don't have to apply for it every year. So if the department has granted you this recognition, it means that you have passed the standard of the Department of Education. Ito ay granted only to private schools. Next would be RA 10533, or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. I think all of us know that this is the K-12 program. Don't have to discuss further dahil alam nating lahat what this is about, and it's quite a lengthy. It's a lengthy law, so no need to discuss it. And I think our students here, alam ko na nadaanan nila ang K-12 program, so they very well know what this is about. No? So RA 7610, the Anti-Child Abuse Law. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, bakit po kasama yan sa legal basis ng education system natin? Well, it is because under this law, the Department of Education was mandated by the government or by the state to create their own child protection policy. So kung kayo ay magiging senior high teachers or basic education teachers, and you would like to work for, you would like to teach children from grades 1 to, from kinder to senior high, grade 12, you will be under the child protection policy. So what is this child protection policy? Halos pareho lang din siya ng anti-child abuse law. So it is also the core function of my office to ensure that everyone or all schools, both public and private, are implementing their own child protection policy. So I have to ensure na yung mga schools, na ang mga bata ay very safe sa kamay ng mga kanilang mga teachers. It's not only involving teachers, but also the admin staff of the school, the principal also. So this anti-child abuse law, alongside with the child protection policy, is ensures that all children are safe from physical, sexual, and psychological abuse that may happen inside the school. So kaya siya applicable. But remember, this is only applicable to minors. So hanggang grade 12 lang to. Pagdating ng kolehiyo, hindi na to applicable. Next and last but not the least is RA 7722, Higher Education Act of 1994. So this created the Commission on Higher Education. So it's separated from DEX. So kung kabatch ko kayo or matanda kayo sa akin, naabutan nyo pa ang DEX, ang Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. Dati kasi ang DEX, hawak niya ang Bureau of Higher Education. So yung Bureau of Higher Education, may maliit lang siya office doon under ng DEX. Pero dahil hiniwalay na siya, there are already two different agencies. Now we already have DEX, or also now also known as Department of Education and Commission on Higher Education. So magkahiwalay na sila. They're already independent with each other. And yung 7722 is the one that created Commission on Higher Education. So next, please. So dahil nga sobrang dami nating Republic Act, and yung na-discuss ko kanina is just a portion of the list of Republic Acts applicable to us, these are the hand-picked topics natin. So bakit etong tatlo? Bakit hindi ko isasama ang Republic Act? Bakit wala yung mga nabanggit ko kanina? Well, it is because if you are going to read all of that laws, lahat ng batas na yon, it will all boil down to these three things. Una, the Constitution. Second is academic freedom. And third is your special parental authority under our new civil code. Okay? So, kung ito ay alam nyo by this time, if I will teach you this today, it would be very much applicable to your lives every day as educators and as future educators. So take note, especially academic freedom and special parental authority. Kahit hanggang mag-retire ka sa iyong profesyon, it will always still be applicable to you. So this is also for the interest of everyone here. I know that you will be very interested in these topics kasi kung tayo ay Republic Act lang, we will all fall asleep. And some of it might not be applicable to everyone here. So next, please. So ito nga, bakit kailangan pa natin ng mga legal basis na yan? Ang dami-dami. Isang buong, pag ginugel mo yan, ang daming pages na puro legal basis, puro Republic Act. But why is it so important to have legal basis? Hindi pa ba sapat na ang Constitution natin, being the root of all laws, isn't that enough to guide us to have quality basic education, to have an accessible education? Next, please. So, we need to have all these kind of laws because the Constitution is too broad. Masyadong malawak ang Constitution. So, it has to be specific. So, paano mo siya gagawing specific? Gagawin mo siyang specific kung ang Kongreso ay gagawa ng sariling batas. Okay? So later on, you will see how broad it is, how broad our Constitution is. Medyo malawak ang kanyang sakop. So dahil kailangan nating may mga himay-himay na issues na kailangang i-address ng Congress, they make their own laws. And next is, we need legal basis. We need all of these Republic Acts, even department orders from CHED and DepEd, it will help in problem solving. So how will it help in our problem solving? If you are confronted with an issue, for example, issue in enrollment, ayaw mo tanggapin ng isang estudyante sa inyong school dahil kulang-kulang ang kanyang records. You have, siguro sa DepEd kasi meron tayong department order relating to that, relating to enrollment, you can use that to defend yourself. Kung bakit hindi mo siya matatanggap o dahil bakit temporarily enrolled lang siya. So it would help you solve your problems. Hindi yung mag-iisip ka lang na, ano kaya decision ko? Hindi yung parang ang decision mo, wala ka naman talagang panghahawakan o kaya wala ka naman talagang basis, basta mo na lang siya dinecide as the registrar, it will actually lead to a bigger problem kung wala tayong basehan ng ating mga desisyon, lalo na management decisions. Or for example, also, if you are going to discipline a child, tapos kick out mo yung bata doon sa school, you have a particular law, later on, it will be discussed later on under academic freedom, why you have the right or the school has the right to discipline a child. So yung lahat ng ito, it will all serve as a guide to all of us. Whether you are part of the management, kung ikaw ay part ng board of director ng inyong school, kung ikaw ay principal, kung ikaw ay estudyante o ikaw ay professor or teacher, this will all help us deciding our actions and decisions relevant to our work. Okay? Next, please. So a little pop quiz muna tayo. Which constitution provides the basis for our educational system? So letter A, is it the 1935? Letter B, is it the 1973? Letter C, is it 1987? Or letter D, all of the above? Okay. Sige, reveal natin yung answer. You can click just one. Yan. So it's all of the above. Sabi, attorney, 1935, panahon pa ng lolo ko yan. Yes, it's still alive and kicking. Our 1935 is still, it's still there. It hasn't been canceled out. Also the 1973. Yung pero, however, it is the 1987 Constitution that we are using right now. Kasi yun ang pinaka-latest. So, why is it all of the above? Dahil yung 1987, parang siya yung bunsong kapatid ng 1935 at 1973. All of them are related to each other. If you're going to read the 1935 Constitution and the 1973, lalabas ang provisions ng mga constitution na yon doon sa 1987. Paulit-ulit lang lalabas ang provisions ng 1935 at 1973 sa 1987 Constitution. Kumbaga, etong 1987, new and improved ito ng 1935 at 1973. And no, we do not cancel out our constitutions. Hindi natin binabaliwala ang mga older constitutions natin because all of them are sacred. So, para sa aming mga abogado, ang mga constitution kasi namin, ginagamit yan kahit sa discussion, lalo na sa Korte Suprema, we still use the 1935 and the 1973. Sinasite pa rin namin ang provisions dyan. Dahil nga, ang 1987 ay nanggaling sa 1935 at 1973 provisions. So, just a little topic lang yun. It's just a little, just so you know, parang basic information about our Constitution. So there. So let us move on to one of the major topics we have right now. Let's go to the constitutional provisions of the 1987 Constitution. So we go to section 1. This is a very important section because it talks about quality education and accessibility of education. Okay, so the quality education na binabanggit dito, the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens. So basta ipinanganak ka sa Pilipinas at ikaw ay isang Pilipino, dating foreigner na naging Pilipino, you have the right to quality education at all levels. So that is starting from kinder up to college, even up to your graduate studies. You have the right to quality education and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. So what is this quality education that we are talking about? So ngayon, kung wala tayong mga Republic Act, wala tayong mga department order, kung sino man ang nagbabasa nito, magkakaroon ng different interpretation of what quality education is. So ang quality education, maybe for me, o para sa iba, o kaya para kay Pedro, ang quality education dapat air-conditioned ang room. Para naman kay Juan, ang quality education dapat may library, dapat merong mga laboratory. But for the others, dapat ang quality education, okay lang na walang nagtuturo sa harapan nila, basta may tablet at may libro, okay na yon. So what exactly is quality education? The concept is so broad na kailangan nating himay-himayin ang definition of quality quality education. Just like what we do in the Department of Education, through the monitoring and evaluation team, we conduct or we inspect private schools. So why do we inspect private schools? We have to ensure that lahat ng nakamandato sa department order ng Department of Education, we have to ensure na meron silang laboratory, na meron silang proper yung ratio ng student doon sa laki ng classroom, even the height of the blackboard or the whiteboard, it has an appropriate measurement for that. Now, bakit quality education ba yun? Yes, because the environment of the classroom will definitely affect the learning ability of a child or of a learner. Kaya yun, pati yun, kinakontrol or sinusupervise ng Department of Education. We have to ensure na kahit na yung paligid ng bata ay conducive to learning. Also, part of quality education is the curriculum. We even have our own curriculum division in the office that ensures na yung mga subject na tinuturo ay naayon sa pangangailangan ng mga bata. So, that is part of quality education. Marami pa yan eh. Even the rules on disciplining a child will form part of quality education. But since we do not have the luxury of the time to discuss all of it, I just give you an idea of what quality education is. Next would be accessibility. So more on ano kasi yan more on the public part of the public school part yan. So ang ginagawa ngayon ng aming departamento para through the central office and the management of the Secretary of Education, ang ginagawa namin dyan ngayon, for education to be accessible to all, ay nagtatayo ng mga eskwelahan sa far-flung areas, sa mga provinces of our country. Okay? So let's move on to Section 2. Section 2, first is the state shall ensure a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education relevant to the needs of the people and society. I think I have discussed earlier about the curriculum na kailangan nata-target namin o ng curriculum na ang pangangailangan ng mga bata matutugunan ng curriculum na ituturo sa mga learners. Number 2 is free public education in the elementary and high school levels. This remains true even kahit 1987 pa ito. This rule remains true up to now. Our public schools are for free. Walang babayaran, kahit 5 enrollment fee, wala pong babayaran dyan. So, if you want to enroll in any public school, you may do so as long as your documents are complete and you don't have to cash out anything, not even a centavo. Okay? Number 3, the scholarship grants, student loan programs, subsidies, and other incentives. If I am not mistaken, the state or the government can grant scholarships through DOST, Department of Science and Technology, if you are part of a science high school, if I'm not mistaken. So marami tayong mga scholarship grants na ibinibigay. Even private schools have this also. And if you go to UP, kaya nga tayo may tinatawag na Scholar ng Bayan because they are scholarship grantees. So the government has also given the opportunity for the less fortunate through scholarship grants. And yes, this remains true. This provision remains true up until now. Next would be the non-formal, informal, and indigenous learning systems, as well as self-learning independent and out-of-school study programs. So if you have heard of us or our alternative learning system, that is provided under the Department of Education, meron po tayong ganong programa. So if you enter or if you enroll in us, you don't have to go back to, kunyari, nag-stop ka ng grade 5, let's say, and then you're already 15 years old, kaysa bumalik ka sa grade 5, you can enter us. You can enter the alternative learning system to be able to finish your basic education program. And lastly is training in civics, vocational efficiency, and other skills. Ang Kongreso gumawa ng batas to be able to create TESDA, to be able to provide vocational efficiency and other skills, technical and vocational skills for those who are willing to learn. And next would be, this is section 3. Curriculum must include the Constitution, the patriotism, nationalism, humanity, human rights, national heroes, citizenship, values, discipline, creative thinking. So I remember back when I was in grade school, meron akong subject na HECASI, kasaysayan, civica, parang ganon. And they all teach these things. Even after school, meron din kami para mga 30-minute session about nationalism and patriotism. So it should form part of the curriculum of both public and private institutions. And next would be religion is optional. So if you're in a public school, religion is not a mandatory subject. But if you're in a private school, most especially if you are in a Catholic school, religion cannot be optional. So you have to follow their curriculum. But no one can compel the student, lalo na kung hindi siya Katoliko, no one can compel the student to take the religion class. So if you are from a Christian religion or you believe in Islam, you are not, it is your constitutional right not to take that particular religion subject. So only except kung pumasok ka talaga sa Catholic school, well, I think that the Catholic school should have an alternative program for those who are non-Catholics. Like for example, in my school, when I was in high school, we were mandated. It is mandatory in my school to take Christian philosophy and theology and a religion class. 3 religion class ang meron kami. And we are all mandated to take that. Pero doon sa mga kaklase kong hindi naman Katoliko, they were not compelled. I think they have an alternative program to para may grade din sila doon sa subject na yun. Okay? But remember, religion is always optional. Next would be section 4. The state recognizes the complementary roles of the public and private institutions in the educational system and shall exercise reasonable supervision and regulation of all educational institutions. Highlighted dito ang reasonable supervision and regulation. So what is reasonable supervision? We dapat yung mga sineset naming standards sa isang school ay kaabot-abot naman. Hindi naman yung lalagyan namin, dapat yung toilet nyo dyan, hindi dapat gantong brand, dapat gantong kulay. We cannot set that particular standard. So, kasi hindi na siya reasonable. So, dapat, kapag nag-require kami ng isang bagay, kunyari, dapat every floor needs to have, let's say, a bathroom or a washroom for every student, okay na yon. Hindi na namin isa-set ang standard na ano ang brand ng hugasan o anong brand ng toilet o kaya kailangan ba may bidet, kailangan ba kulay pink yung toilet. We can no longer set those kind of standards because it will be, mapapatak siya sa unreasonable. And also regulation, kaya nga tayo nagkakaroon ng school permits because the state and the government has the right to ensure na nare-regulate at na-oversee namin yung functions and yung pamamalakad ng isang eskwelahan. Maayos ba ang pamamalakad or masyadong hindi ba nagbibigay ba yan ng mga school records on time or at kung ano man, because if you have the right to have a permit, the state also, if the state has the right to give a permit, the state has also the right to cancel it or to revoke it from you, lalo na pag nalaman namin na lumalabag ka sa isang major requirement ng edukasyon. Okay? So next would be Section 5, the last section of Article 14 of the Constitution. The state shall take into account regional and sectoral needs and conditions and shall encourage local planning in the development of educational policies and programs. So, from time to time, nagbabago ang aming department orders. Even the curriculum, nagbabago din, depending on the need of our jurisdiction, depende sa need ng mga estudyante. Dahil yung mga ganong bagay, pinag-aaralan naman po niyan ng ahensya namin. So if they think that they have to address a particular need of the students, they can repeal the previous ruling or the previous rules, and then they can come up with a new one that would address the needs of the students. Kaya katulad ngayon, dahil nagkaroon tayo ng pandemya, yung face-to-face classes natin, wala. So, what did the agency do to address the problem? What we did was nag-go signal si Secretary of Education for modular learning or for virtual learning. Meron pa nga tayong TV and radio. So, dahil yun ang pangangailangan ng mga estudyante, the Secretary of Education addressed the needs of the students. Next. Academic freedom shall be enjoyed in all institutions of higher learning. This will be tackled later on after this constitutional provisions. Next would be the right to select a profession or course of study. So the government cannot compel you to take up architecture kung ayaw mo. We cannot compel you to take up education kung ayaw mo. So it is up to you to choose your own profession. So yung mga estudyante natin ngayon na nakikinig, I know that you chose that course because you wanted that course. Not because somebody or a government official or somebody in the government or the state itself told you to take that. So you entered and you enrolled in that course dahil ginusto mo yan at choice mo yan. Okay? And next would be the state shall enhance the right of teachers to professional advancement. Non-teaching academic and non-academic personnel shall enjoy the protection of the state. So meron tayong mga seminars na pinoprovide for our teachers, lalo na po sa DepEd. Marami po kaming pa-seminar sa mga public school teachers namin to be able to enhance their skills, and they can use that as a means to be promoted within the division or within the school. And next would be the state shall assign the highest budgetary priority to education and ensure that teaching will attract and retain its rightful share of the best available talents through adequate remuneration and other means of job satisfaction and fulfillment. Etong number 5, makikita nyo yan sa Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. Nagkaroon tayo ng may budgetary requirement, hindi naman requirement, pero we set aside for a budget for the salary of the teachers, ganyan. And we would select our public school teachers based on the qualifications set by the Magna Carta. Ganon. So number 5 can be seen or can be applied or was applied through the Magna Carta of public school teachers. Okay? So that ends our topic for our constitutional provisions. Now we will go to academic freedom. The more interesting part of my lecture. So this is in relation to BP 232 or Educational Act of 1982. So why is it in relation? Kasi dito mo makikita yung karapatan ng estudyante, ng management, at ng teachers. So why is this an important concept? Okay, next please. This is an important concept dahil this is applicable to all those persons or individuals related sa school. So isa yan is management, pangalawa estudyante, at pangatlo mga kaguruan or professors. And remember, this is not only applicable to basic education, but this is also applicable to college level or the tertiary level. So applicable din po ito sa inyong lahat na nanonood, lalo na sa ating mga educators sa college level. So next please. Ayan. Okay. Next please. Okay. So just a little background on academic freedom. Kung napansin nyo kanina, nabanggit ko na siya. And it says academic freedom is applicable to the higher level institutions or the higher level institutions. So if you are a non-lawyer or you just came across that provision na hindi mo pa siya nag-google or anything, ang una mong iisipin doon sa provision na yon is applicable lang siya sa eskwelahan. So hindi siya applicable sa students, hindi siya applicable sa teachers. So there was a transcript. This was during, if I'm not mistaken, mga 1986 to 1987, before the enactment of the 1987 Constitution. Itong nakikita nyo sa screen nyo, ito yung transcribed at the transcript of the delivery or the deliverance or review of the Constitution, the 1987 Constitution. So ginagawa pa lang ang 1987 Constitution, and this one, etong naka-highlight na to, simply explains that that particular provision in the Constitution does not only apply to schools, but it also applies to students and teachers. So the faculty and the students, not only that, it also includes, Gascon finished off the broken thought, the faculty and the students, as Kuna replied, yes. So kahit hindi nakasulat sa Constitution natin, nakasama ang the academic freedom, the exercise of academic freedom includes the students and the teachers. This transcript is equally important to the Constitution itself. So etong transcript na to, this actually happened, just so you know. Kaya nga siya transcribed. I mean, this is the verbatim conversation of the Constitutional Commission during the deliverance and the review of the 1987 Constitution. So keep in mind na kahit hindi siya nakasulat doon sa Constitution, this will apply to teachers and students. Okay? So pag binato kayo na wala naman sa Constitution yan nandun po. Pakita niyo itong PowerPoint presentation ko and show the transcript of the Constitutional Commission way back 1986 and 1987. Okay? So next, please. So now, how is academic freedom defined or applied? Unahin muna natin ang eskwelahan. Paano nagkakaroon ng academic freedom ang isang eskwelahan? So the school has the right to have their own reasonable rules and regulations for the admission, discipline, and promotion of students. So when it comes to private schools, you can set your own standard as to who you want to be admitted and who you do not want to be admitted in your school. The same with discipline. You caught your student cheating in a particular exam, doon sa inyong handbook, you can set your own standards of discipline. If you find your student cheating at nakasabi doon suspension for 2 weeks, then so be it. Pwede nyo ipatong yung discipline na yon. The same with promotion of students. If you want your passing grade to be 75%, then so be it. 75% ang passing rate nyo. So if your student only had a passing rate of 70%, or let's say 65%, hindi siya mapopromote sa next level. So that is still under the discretion of the school. As long as you have to ensure na reasonable siya, na hindi mahirap abutin yung regulasyon nyo sa admission, disiplina, at promosyon ng mga estudyante. So for example, kung kayo ay isang basic school institution at may grade 1 kayo, tapos nire-require nyo yung mga estudyante nyo na grade 1 na gumawa ng thesis tungkol sa kung ano man, o kaya tungkol sa ano bang mga topic ngayon ng mga estudyante. At kunya, tungkol sa isang nursery rhyme, you want them to make a thesis. I know it sounds absurd, but if you want your children to pass a thesis at the age of 6 or 7, or grade 1 student siya, well, that is no longer reasonable rule for your promotion. So you have to ensure na yung level of intellect ng mga bata will be So yung mga requirement nyo sa isang bata will connect or will be in line with the level of intellect of a part of your children. So kung pagkagawin nyo ng thesis ang isang grade 1, hindi nila maintindihan yan. Hindi nila mako-comply yan. Dahil ang thesis, nagsisimula na lang yan sa junior high. If I'm not mistaken, kung tama yung, dahil ako, nakahawak na lang ako ng thesis, college na ako. Because hindi ko naabutan ng K-12 program. But I think as far as I know, ngayon, as early as senior high or junior high, marunong na mag-thesis. So, next, click please. Institutions of higher learning, such that schools have the freedom to determine for themselves who may teach. So you have the freedom to hire who you want to hire, what may be taught, how lessons shall be taught, and who may be admitted to study, and that courts, when we say courts, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and the Regional Trial Court, even DepEd, we have no authority to interfere in the school's exercise of discretion in these matters in the absence of grave abuse of discretion. Papasok na lang kaming ahensya at ang gobyerno at ang mga korte kung sa tingin namin abusive ang naging discretion ng isang eskwelahan. So, going back, dito din, ma-answer ko ang inyong tanong, bakit kami may Magna Carta for public school teachers pero wala ang Magna Carta for private school teachers. It is in this topic that masasagot yung tanong nyo. So, walang Magna Carta for private school teachers. Kasi school ang magsaset ng standard kung sino ang ma-admit sa kanilang school, kung sino ang kanilang magiging empleyado, working hours, as long as it is not violative of the labor law. Kasi ang mga private school teachers, kasi nga hindi kayo government officials, you are covered under the labor law and under the rules and regulations of your school. Okay? However, ang mga public school teachers, they are actually government officials. They are government employees. Kaya sila kaya nga gumawa ng batas ang Kongreso para yung mga ahensya namin o mga schools division offices merong pangahawakan kung sino ang mag-e-enter sa service or not. Kasi hindi kami under ng labor law. We are not, actually makikita mo yan sa first few pages ng labor law, we are not covered by the labor law. Dahil may sarili kaming standards, may sarili kaming rules and regulations under the civil service. And also, under ng mga iba pang batas, and also under pa ng mga department orders namin, yun ang nag-guide sa amin. However, if you are a private school teacher, you are under the labor law, which is a whole different topic. So, kung ang school niya gusto lang na kayo ay magturo for 7 hours, that's okay. Kasi under the labor law, ang maximum number of working hours is 8 hours. So, kung ang standard ng, for example, ang Trimex, ang standard nila, 7 hours lang ang ibibigay sa'yo, edi 7 hours lang ang itatrabaho mo. Anything beyond that will be considered as overtime. Because that is what is provided under the labor law. And it was also part of the academic freedom of the school to determine the working conditions of the teachers and other staff. Not just the teachers, but also the mga admin staff ninyo and non-teaching staff. Okay, next please. So let us apply this term with this particular story that involves the ADMU or the Ateneo de Manila University School of Law, the Aquila Lehis Fraternity, and the disciplinary board of the school. So what happened here? The members of Aquila Lehis Fraternity conducted a hazing ritual, which is very common with a fraternity, right? However, because of this, the hazing resulted to 2 deaths of 2 neophytes and 1 student in critical condition because of serious physical injuries. Now, it was reported to the school that the 2 deaths and 1 critical condition, what the school did was it created a disciplinary board. So, ang ginawa ng disciplinary board, inimbestigahan lahat ng miyembro ng Aquila Lehis Fraternity at yung mga nag-conduct ng hazing. So, they were afforded the investigation. They were a hearing, a trial even ensued within the school. Disciplinary hearing was conducted by the disciplinary board, and the decision of the disciplinary board was, next please, the students were found guilty. At ano ang pinatong? It was dismissal from the school. Now the students, they were appealing na enrolled pa kami sa second sem and we have yet to take our exams. If we do not take our exams, we will fail. You cannot take away our right to study because it will violate our academic freedom. Hindi mo kami pwede basta palayasin sa eskwelahan dahil naka-enroll pa kami, nakapagbayad kami ng tuition, and we have yet to complete our educational requirements in the School of Law to be able to pass the second semester of law school. It reached the Supreme Court, no? Now, the question is, did the school abuse their discretion using their right to academic freedom to discipline students? Inabuso ba ng Ateneo de Manila University ang karapatan nila sa academic freedom para madisiplina ang mga estudyante? Kasi kinik out nila eh. So was that abusive, or was that just proper? Now the Supreme Court has ruled and has decided, next please, that as corporate entities, educational institutions of higher learning, that is the Ateneo de Manila, are inherently endowed with the right to establish their policies, academic and otherwise, unhampered by external controls or pressure. So, it was found out in the trial or in the hearing na meron silang code of conduct for law students. Now, it was expressly stated in that code of conduct na kapag ikaw ay nag-hazing at ikaw ay estudyante ng Ateneo School of Law, automatic kick out ka if proven guilty. And if after the hearing and the trial, it was proven na part ka ng hazing ritual, you are automatically kicked out from the school. So, it was ruled by the Supreme Court na yes, it was just a proper exercise of academic freedom of the school. And part of academic freedom is the freedom to discipline their students. So the case was dismissed. Natuloy ang pagpapaalis at pag-dismiss ng mga estudyante doon sa eskwelahan na iyon. And Ateneo de Manila's decision remained. Okay, so next topic would be the academic freedom of our students. So what forms part of our academic freedom? So first is the right to choose the course and receive education, protection against unjust grading or evaluation. So kung ikaw ay hindi mo mababa ang grade mo ng 80%, gano'n hanggang lahat na requirements mo na ipasa mo and your grades are good, you are protected against unjust grading or evaluation. Meaning, hindi ka pwedeng bigyan ng less than 80% doon sa mga naipas sa final grading mo. Lalo na if walang basis yung pagbaksak sa'yo o pagbaba ng grade mo. Okay, so you have the right for a right against unjust grading or evaluation. I believe all schools have their own standard in evaluation and grading. May sarili-sarili kayong grading system. Okay. Next would be protection from freedom of speech. So, etong protection from freedom of speech, it does not include derogatory speech, libelous speech, or a scandalous speech. Okay? But itong freedom of speech na pinag-uusapan natin, you have the right to voice out your concerns to the school. Kung may problema kayo, you have the right to tell the school. If you think hindi patas ang pagpatong ng school ng isang rule, you can voice out your concern. Okay? So, and also freedom from student publication and organization. I believe some of you have their own school papers, school newspaper. You also have your own groups, ano ba tawag doon? Clubs, groups, na sinasalihan. Also, student council, meron din kayo. Ano? So how was this applied? So I will tell you another story. This is entitled Pimentel versus the Legal Education Board. Okay, so the next story that I will tell is about the Pimentel versus Legal Education Board. So this is about the law school aptitude test. So hindi ko siya naabutan because I think it was only implemented nung pagpasa ko ng bar. So this was, I think, implemented 2017. Dati kasi, kung ikaw ay gusto mong pumasok sa isang law school, pupunta ka lang sa law school, take ka ng entrance test. Kung pumasa ka, you're part of the law school already. Yung iba, kunyari, yung iba sa UP, you still have to undergo interviews with the dean and with the board of directors and everyone else. Um, that's part of the requirement. However, yung Legal Education Board, nagpasa sila ng batas na lahat ng magiging prospect law student dapat mag-take kayo ng law school aptitude test. What is this law school aptitude test? It's a nationwide exam that will become another requirement for you to enter into law school. So, since it's another requirement, dagdag requirement yan na kaysa basta ka na lang pumunta sa isang law school at mag-exam ka, you still have to take this exam, the national exam, the law school aptitude test. Pag wala ka nito, hindi ka makakapasok ng law school. Okay? So a lot of students, a lot of future law students, even educators, contested this requirement. And they said, it's a form of our violation of academic freedom. Kasi you are prohibiting us from choosing the course and education that we want. You are preventing us from our right to be educated. Ano ang sagot ng korte? Next, please. Ang sagot ng korte, it is just right to have this implementation. The right to receive education is not and should not be taken to mean as a right to be admitted to educational institutions. So magkaiba ang karapatan ng academic freedom ng estudyante sa academic freedom ng school. Dahil your right to receive education is the academic freedom of the student. Yes, correct. You have the right to receive education. If you want to enter law school, by all means, go ahead. If you want to enter medical school, by all means, no one will stop you. If you want to become a teacher, no one is going to stop you from becoming a teacher. Pero iba yan sa requirement na ma-admit ka sa isang educational institution. So, you cannot invoke your academic freedom as a student, no? If ayaw kang i-admit ng isang school. Because the school has the right or also has the academic freedom to set standards and limits to their prospect students. So, hindi kayo pwede magbatuhan na academic freedom namin estudyante, but hindi mo ako ipapasok sa Lasal? Karapatan ko namang pumasok because I have the right to receive education. Kung sabihin ng Lasal sa'yo, hindi mo na-meet ang aming standards at wala kang resulta ng LSAT o Law School Aptitude Test, how can we admit you? So it is also the right of the school to set their own standard for admission. So ito, natalo dito yung mga estudyante na naigtong LSAT na ito. We are now conducting Law School Aptitude Test. So if you don't have this, you cannot be admitted to any law school anywhere. Okay? Now let's go to teachers. Academic freedom of teachers involve teaching their specialization. So if you are a math major, you cannot be compelled to teach science because that's not your specialization. So karapatan mo bilang isang teacher na kapag inassign sa'yo ang isang science subject, tas hindi ka naman science major, you can invoke na it is violating your academic freedom. Why? Kasi hindi mo siya maituturo na maayos. So it will violate the quality education set by the Constitution. So, kung hindi mo maituturo na maayos ang isang subject, the quality of the education to be received by the student will be affected. And at the same time, the right of the students to receive education will also be affected. Yung binabanggit ko kanina na academic freedom na may estudyante na the right to receive education will also be affected. So, kung ikaw ay pinipilit na magturo ng isang subject na hindi mo naman alam, hindi mo naman specialization, you can refuse that. Okay? Next would be express opinions as long as it does not disrupt the interests of the school, undermine authority, or affect work relationships. So, expressing of opinions, remember people that it's not unlimited. Dahil hindi katulad to, lagi ko tong problema sa ahensya namin na galit ka sa isang tao and then you will start ranting everything on Facebook. Itatag mo pa yung tao. Itatag mo pa yung tao involved, no? So, the expression of opinion here is more of an educational kind of expression. It's more of an intellectual kind of expression, professional as well. So if you feel that the particular management decision does not address the issue concerned sa inyong mga teacher, sa inyong mga professor, if you feel that it will not solve anything, you have the right to express it. Because, una, that's also the right of every employee. Pangalawa, as a teacher, you have the freedom to do so. And they cannot punish you for doing that. Okay? So you also have the right to conduct research and participate in intellectual debate. So when we say intellectual debate, it involves something academic. It's not about sinong mas tama, si Bea Alonzo ba o si Julia Barreto. It's not about that, okay? It's about intellectual debate. Anything academic, anything intellectual, anything stimulating the mind and the wisdom and the knowledge of everyone. You have the right to do that. And also you have the right to be organized. And when we say the right to organization, ito yung karapatan nyo para bumuo ng isang grupo o asosasyon ninyong mga teacher. Okay. And this right is also granted under the labor law. Okay, so you have the right to organize and make your own union maybe, or make your own group, asosasyon ninyo, samahan ninyong mga teacher. Okay, next slide please. So again, this is not absolute. Yung freedom, the term of freedom ninyo is not absolute. And it must be invoked or used within the regulations or limitations of the law. So, yung pag-express natin ng ating damdamin tungkol sa ating employer o kaya tungkol sa ating mga estudyante kasi makukulit ay hindi absolute. And you cannot always rant about it on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram o kung ano man yung social media ninyo. You cannot always say, this is my Facebook, wala kang pakialam. That is not always right because we have the right to call out, lalo na at the school, and parents as well also have the right to call out if your behavior is no longer meeting the standard of the law, and it's no longer about freedom but rather violating the law. Maraming ganyang kaso sa aking office, so I hope we do not express everything online. If may problema ka, sabihin mo sa management face-to-face. O kaya sa boss mo, i-text mo. But sometimes it is unnecessary to express everything online. Okay, so we go to our last topic, I believe. Yeah, is the civil code. No, is special parental authority. So this is actually quite interesting, lalo na sa ating mga professors ngayon, mga teachers, lalo na mga nasa grade school or senior high, junior high teachers, yung mga nasa mga future teachers natin, I think this is one of the good things that you should know before becoming a teacher, because this will help you set your limitations and your boundaries, and it will help you to become more diligent as a teacher, lalo na pag ang hawak natin ay mga bata. Okay, next slide please. Okay. So what comes into your mind kapag narinig nyo ang special parental authority? And why is this very essential to learn? So una, the term parent. Kaya nga tayong binalsagan, kaya kayo binalsagan na second parents of the children is because most of the time, the children are within your jurisdiction or within your supervision. Mas 8 hours a day, 5 times a week, nasa inyo ang mga bata. So, they call you the second parents, right? Because you also have the duty of a parent to ensure that the child is safe, that the child is being well taken care of. And unfortunately, dahil kontrolado natin ang mga bata, it tends to be abused. Okay? So, kaya nga tayo nagkaroon ng polisiya about child protection because we want to protect these children from authorities who are abusive or those who abuse the trust of their parents, yung tiwala ng magulang na ibigay sa iyo ang mga anak nila for 8-9 hours a day ay minsan naabuso. Nakikita niyo yun sa news, napapalo, namumura ng teacher, o kaya nasasampal, no? So, that is why this special parental authority is created to be able to see who will be liable in case of accident or in case of situations that are that come up in schools. Later on, I will tell you more about it. The civil code has been effect since the 1950s. So this rule has been effect since the 1950s. You know? So, and lastly, it is not always applicable. So why is it not always applicable? Depende ito sa sitwasyon. You cannot always invoke special parental authority. No, if well, later on I will discuss naman. So hindi mo naman kailangan pwedeng i-invoke ito lagi. Kasi there are times na hindi naman kasalanan ng teacher, hindi naman kasalanan ng school. So, how is this going to be applied? We will see. Okay, next slide, please. So this is not only limited to teachers, but also for the school as a whole via the management. Okay. Now I will tell you a story. Next slide. I'll tell you a story from 1994. This actually happened. It involves St. Joseph's College, the teacher Rosalinda Tabugo, and Jason Miranda, the student, a grade 5 student. Okay, so Jason Miranda is a grade 5 student from St. Joseph College. Ang kanyang science teacher, si Ma'am Rosalinda Tabugo. Okay? Next slide, please. Next, please. Okay. Ngayon, meron silang science experiment involving iron fillings and sulfur. Tapos, ilalagay mo yun sa test tube. Ihahalo mo yung dalawang element sa test tube, tapos paiinitin mo sa burner. Okay? So, si Ma'am Rosalinda, while the experiment was ongoing, lumabas siya ng classroom, leaving the students only written instructions. So, nasa papel, ito yung instruction gawin nyo. Tapos, lumabas siya. So, while the experiment was ongoing, this kid right here, Jason Miranda, took a magnifying glass, tapos sinilip niya yung pinaiinitan na chemical compound. So, sinilip niya. So, nung sinilip niya, sumabog yung chemical compound, resulting to chemical burn on his eye. Nagkaroon siya ng eye injury that resulted to immediate or emergency medical treatment plus 2 surgeries. Hindi siya nabulag, pero it required him to have surgeries for his eye. So, chemical burn yung mata niya, and he was rushed to St. Luke's. Next slide, please. Ayan. So, it required several surgeries for the child. Next, please. So, who was liable in the case? Is it the school? Is it the teacher? Is it the student? Or none of the above? Kasi aksidente naman siya. No? Now, it was discussed in this case, Articles 218 and 2180. Yun yung dalawa sa mga articles sa new civil code natin talking about special parental authority. So, next slide, please. So, ang desisyon ng Korte Suprema doon was, it was the school and the teacher that were liable. Bakit? Ang depensa ng school, nakasulat naman po sa papel yung mga instructions, hindi sinunod ng bata. So, kasalanan ng bata yan. Hindi kasalanan ng teacher yan. Ang depensa naman ng mga estudyante, o nung estudyante at yung magulang ng estudyante, their defense was, hindi mo na dapat iniiwan ng bata na walang supervision, considering that it involves sulfur, a very poisonous compound, a very poisonous element or chemical, and also, hindi mo in-ensure na yung bata ay may goggles. It was then found out by the Supreme Court na wala palang safety gears ang mga bata while doing the experiment. Plus, lumabas siya ng classroom, leaving the grade 5 students handling their own chemicals. So it is negligent. Yung special parental authority dito is reflected under 218. It was discussed in Article 218 that the following shall have special parental authority over a minor child while under the supervision, instruction, or custody. Una, ang eskwelahan. Pangalawa, mga administrador ng eskwelahan at mga teacher, or the individual entity or institution engaged in childcare. So, ito yung mga childcare, tawag dito, iiwan yung bata doon sa tao, tapos sila muna mag-aalaga. O parang nursery, parang ganon. So this is applicable to those, basta iiwan mo yung bata in their care, that is considered special parental authority. So does the school in the story, did the school have the special parental authority? The answer is yes, because under 218, the minor child was under the supervision of the teacher. She was under the instruction and custody. She has the instruction and custody of the minor child. Okay? And let's go to the second sentence. This special parental authority and responsibility applies to all authorized activity. Was the science experiment an authorized activity? The answer is yes, it is an authorized activity kasi it's part of the lesson. It's part of the curriculum even. So, yung pangalawang element, na-check na. Una, kasi under the supervision of the teacher. Pangalawa, the laboratory activity is an authorized activity of the school. Whether inside or outside. Remember that special parental authority also applies to excursions, mga field trips. Because it's stated here, whether inside or outside the premises of the school, this will apply. Okay? And lastly, ito yung 2180, yung new civil code. Ng new civil code of the Philippines, teachers or heads of establishments of arts and trades shall be liable for damages caused by their pupils and students or apprentices so long as they remain in their custody. So medyo mabigat. Okay? So, ang nag-i-issue dito kasi, yung mga magulang ni Joseph, ang mga magulang ng bata ni Jason, hinihingi yung reimbursement ng medical expenses niya sa St. Luke's, which amounted to, by that time, it was 77,000 pesos. Malaking bagay yan noong 1994. Tapos yung nanay ni Jason, nung nalaman ang nangyari sa anak, umuwi galing abroad because she was an OFW. So, galing abroad, she spent around 30,000 for the plane ticket and her loss for income. So, the school here refused to pay for that. Kasi nga, for them, hindi namin kasalanan dahil specific naman yung instructions na nasa papel. However, remember that even if nakasulat yan sa papel, pero you are leaving children with different dangerous compounds, dangerous machines, yung mga cutting machine, lalo na yung mga magtuturo sa atin dyan ng mga electronic or kung ano man, you will leave your children with those things without the supervision of an adult. That is considered as negligence. You neglected your duty as a teacher. So remember, future teachers and our teachers in basic education, no? Never leave your student if you think, especially in times na pwedeng magkaroon ng aksidente. For example, you will leave them sa field trip, hayaan mo sila magtakbuhan dyan, don't leave them. Okay? Or if you are a science teacher, do not allow your students to be left alone with substances and with chemicals. And ensure that you are providing enough safety gears for your students, especially when conducting experiments. So yun ang naging problema dito. Yung teacher kasi, hindi niya sinigurado na ang mga estudyante niya ay safe from any accident. Kasi ni goggles, kahit gloves, wala siyang pinrovide. Even if the piece of paper is right in front of the students, it doesn't hold any water. Because dapat na andoon ang teacher. Okay? So next slide, please. There is another story that will be compared with St. Joseph's Academy. Okay? So this involves naman, this happened 1995. This involves St. Mary's Academy of Dipolog City, spouses Carpitanos, spouses Daniel, and Vivencio Villanueva. So sino-sinong itong mga ito? Next slide. Next slide, please. Kotse. Okay. So sa St. Mary's Academy, naka-enroll si Sherwin Carpitanos at si James Daniel II. Okay? So they were out of their school. They are promoting their school around Dipolog City. Kasi gusto nila makakuha ng bagong enrollees sa eskwelahan nila. So ang ginagawa nila, nagsa-schools to school sila, nagpo-promote sila ng ng school nila. Meanwhile, take note, walang teacher na kasama. Okay? Meanwhile, sino ba tong Vivencio Villanueva? He is the registered owner of the owner type jeep na dinadrive ni James Daniel. Now, how old are these students? They were at the time 15 years old. They were junior high, nasa third year high school na sila or fourth year. Okay? Now, Vivencio Villanueva is not even there. He, instead of Vivencio being there, it was Chad or Ched Villanueva, yung pamangkin niya, ang kasama no mga estudyante. Actually, marami pa sila. Siguro mga 6 sila, ganon. They're a group of students. Now, while driving, this James Daniel was driving the owner-type jeep. There was an accident. Tumaob yung jeep, namatay si Sherwin Carpetanos. Now, syempre, being the only child of the spouses Carpetanos, they demanded liability from St. Mary's and James Daniel's parents and Vivencio Villanueva, the registered owner of the car or of the vehicle. Now the question is, next slide please. The question is, what happened in the case? Who was deemed liable? Una, was it the school because it was an activity related to the school? Number 2, was it the student? Si Daniel ba? Or letter C, was it the vehicle owner? Kahit wala siya doon sa eksena, he's still liable for the accident and the death of Sherwin? Or none of the above? Was it treated like an accident na parang aksidente yan, hindi natin control yan, so let it be? So the answer here is, next slide please. Dito pumasok ang pinakahuling artikulo about special parental authority. It's Article 219 of the new Civil Code. Yung sagot doon sa question ko kanina na who is liable, the answer was the vehicle owner. Why? Okay. It was in this case, it was discussed, Article 219. If the person under custody is a minor, remember 15 years old sila, so menor de edad sila, hindi ba? And those exercising special parental authority are principally or solidarily liable for damages caused by the acts or omissions of the unemancipated minor while under their supervision, instruction, or custody. Ang sabi kasi ng mga abogado ni Sherwin Carpetanos o yung spouses Carpetanos, kasalanan ng school yan. Why? Bakit siya kasalanan ng school? Kasi dahil sa activity nyo, dahil sa aktibidades nyo, namatay ang anak ko, nagka-aksidente, namatay. Tapos hinayaan nyo pa na si James Daniel ang mag-drive na wala namang license. Even though they were accompanied by someone named Ched Villanueva, who is not a minor anymore, hinayaan nyo pa rin siyang mag-drive. However, the Supreme Court ruled na it is not the school's fault, it is not the student's fault, but it was the vehicle owner's fault. Why? Okay, I will tell you this. Yung vehicle owner kasi, na si Vivencio Villanueva, hindi niya in-ensure na safe i-drive yung kanyang owner. Yun pala, nagkaroon ng aksidente kasi natanggal yung manibela. So dahil natanggal yung manibela, na out of control yung kotse, tumaob sila, namatay si Sherwin, and the rest of the passengers also had injuries. Okay? So bakit hindi liable ang school despite the fact na this is an approved activity of the school? Una, hindi ma-relate ng abogado o ng team ng spouses Carpetanos na nagkaroon talaga ng involvement ng St. Mary's Academy. Una, hindi nila na-prove na pinayagan talaga nila si James Daniel na mag-drive. Pangalawa, they cannot connect the ownership of the vehicle of to St. Mary. Hindi naman ang St. Mary's ang may-ari ng vehicle, but rather Vivencio Villanueva, who is outside of the school. Okay? And take note, wala silang teacher na kasama during this time of accident. It was just a group of students doing their own, their own activity. Although despite the fact that it was approved, they did, parang nagsolo sila sa kanilang trip. So, the question is, bakit ganon, attorney? Bakit yung St. Mary hindi pinagbayad ng cost of damages sa pamilya ni spouses Carpetanos? Pero yung kanina sa St. Joseph, pinagbayad yung school ng medical expenses. What's the difference? Next, please. Okay. So here is the answer. The presence of possible control of the school or teacher to prevent the injury by exercising due diligence. Doon sa St. Mary's, nakita naman na wala talagang, kahit baliktarin mo yung mundo, hindi mape-prevent ng St. Mary's Academy yung nangyaring aksidente. Kasi unat sa pool, they do not have control over the usability of the vehicle. However, on the part of St. Joseph's College, ang daming lapses, ang daming butas na nakita doon sa school as a teacher. Like for example, hindi nag-provide ng safety gears ang teacher. Iniwanan ni teacher ang mga bata with dangerous compounds around them at not even dangerous compounds, even open fire doon sa burner na ginagamit nila. Iniwanan na lang basta-basta without ensuring if the experiment or if the students are safe to be left alone. So, the difference there is the presence of negligence and the ability to prevent it by exercising due diligence. So remember, future teachers and also teachers, lalo na pag mga minors ang inyong mga kids or minors ang inyong mga estudyante, always make sure that when you see something dangerous to the children, make sure to do something about it. Report mo agad kay principal. Report mo agad sa management o sa admin. Most especially if it will be an accident-prone thing. For example, lalo na sa mga school management ngayon, makita nyo there is a roof leaking. What should you be doing? Should you just allow it to leak? Or should you do something about it? First and foremost thing to do is to repair it. Because as a school, and as part of the management, you have to make sure that your students are safe and you are doing your best na hindi ma-aksidente ang inyong mga estudyante in any way. So kapag merong live wire dyan na nakasabit dyan, o may basag na mirror, basag na window, basag na kahit anong basag that can cause injury, make sure to do something about it right away. Huwag na nating antayin na ating mga estudyante ay masasaktan pa bago natin aksyonan. Okay? So that completes my lecture on the legal basis. I hope that you all had you learned something from me one way or another. Kahit medyo short ang aking discussion and quite brief and medyo general na rin. And if you have any questions, you may ask them. If we have time, I think it's 4:53 right now in my clock. I believe hanggang 5 lang tayo. But if you really do have questions and you really want me to answer it, by all means, please send me an email at nestle.cruz@deped.gov.ph. Thank you so much and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you very much po, Attorney Cruz, for that very thorough and comprehensive discussion. I think kahit po, is it all right if we extend for a few moments lang po, Attorney? If there are questions, pwede pa naman siguro tayo mag-entertain kahit po 3 questions.
Yes, please, ma'am.
Yes
Pag
po,
jumajowa
Attorney.
yung teacher ng estudyante.
Oh, ayun, meron na pong nagsalita. Led, okay, acknowledge ko po si Led. Paano daw po yun, Attorney? Pag jumajowa or teacher ang nanligaw, or tama ba, Mr. Led, ang iyong question?
Ma'am, kasi di ba
Is it
pag-college?
general yung yes, Attorney. Ayan, sasagutin ni Attorney.
May I ask kung ilang taon itong batang ito?
College daw po. College
Okay.
daw po, Attorney. College na, so mga 18 and above na po.
Opo.
Well, actually, if you are a LET teacher, kung ikaw ay pasado ng LET, no, I'm familiar with the code of conduct of teachers. Ngayon, kung ikaw ay under ng LET, medyo, it's debatable, actually. Kasi, kung basic education ang pag-uusapan natin, and they're all minors, yun ang bawal. That's a big no, because we are talking about minors here, and it will fall under child abuse. However, if we are no longer talking about a minor student, it's quite, I don't find it appropriate. Personally speaking, I do not find it appropriate because I don't find it professional. However, there is no law. I'm not sure if merong law ang CHED regarding that. Pero, there is no law so far that I have encountered prohibiting that kind of relationship, considered na you are dealing already with someone who is mature and who already knows what he or she is doing. However, the moment that you enter into a relationship, ensure that it will not fall under a scandalous situation. Yun ang nagiging problem eh. Nagkakaroon ng something scandalous comes out of it, and doon nagkakaproblema yung professor or yung teacher na nagiging subject ng administrative or ng even criminal cases. Doon.
Ayun, okay po.
Thank you po.
Ayan. Thank you very much po, Attorney. Ayan, sana nalinawan na yung malinaw na yung answer ni Attorney. Now, Attorney, meron pa pong isa ditong question. Bakit po nagkaroon ng child policy? Pansin ko po kasi, simula nang nagkaroon ng batas na ganyan, naging palaban na po ang mga estudyante sa kanilang mga teachers. Di na po nirerespeto ng mga estudyante ang kanilang mga teachers. Siguro po may mga cases na gano'n.
Yes, actually, I agree with that, no? Nagkaroon ng child protection policy because of the enactment of Republic Act 7610 or the Anti-Child Abuse Law. So dahil doon, we were mandated by the state to create our own child protection policy. So dahil nga doon, nagiging source of abuse kasi siya. I wanted to include that in the lecture, the teacher protection. However, kasi medyo kulang tayo sa time, I was not able to include it. But there is also a way for you to defend yourselves as teachers. Pero sa akin, on my part and my office, hindi porket nagsampa ng kaso ng child abuse ang bata, that's already child abuse. You know, it's also my job to investigate properly if there is indeed abuse that happened or was it simply discipline. Ayun.
Okay po, ayan, tama. Good news for us teachers. Meron din tayong protection for us. Thank you po, Attorney. Siguro po ito last question. This is in connection to your previous answer po a while ago, Attorney. May sinabi po kasi kayong yung mga under ng let, what if daw po? So ito yung tanong ng isang student. Ano pong habol ng mga parents sa mga teachers na hindi licensed na nakagawa ng negligence or abuse sa mga students niya?
Well, kung siya ay teacher sa isang public school or private school, siguro it doesn't matter kung siya ay licensed o hindi. As long as naging empleyado siya ng school na yon, you can be liable for the violation of child protection. And kasi lalo na if ni-recognize naman ng bata na siya yung teacher na yon o siya yung nagtuturo na yon. If ayaw mo naman siya kasuhan under child protection policy, pwede mo siyang kasuhan under Republic Act 7610 or the Anti-Child Abuse. Hindi siya hindi siya under ng DepEd, but rather under siya ng regional trial court. So you will undergo the regular proceedings for filing of criminal case. So we have two ways of filing it.
Okay po. Ayan, thank you very much po, Attorney. I am very sure that there are a lot of questions in mind ng ating mga audience, but because of time constraints, hindi na po natin pwedeng itanong lahat. So I just hope that pwede tayong paunlakan uli ni Attorney for another session. Okay? Kasi talagang very important po ito sa mga teachers and of course yung mga future teachers natin. Now at this point po, we will be awarding the Certificate of Appreciation to our distinguished speaker. Let me just read the citation. The Certificate of Appreciation is hereby given to Attorney Nestle Ray P. Cruz in sincere acknowledgement of her valuable service as resource speaker in the webinar entitled Legal Basis of Philippine Education System, held on April 11, 2021 at Trimex Colleges, given this 11th day of April 2021, signed by our Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Rachel C. Cruz, Vice President for Academics and Student Services, Dr. Rito A. Camigla Jr., and yours truly, the Program Chairman of the College of Education. Ayan. Thank you very much po again for sharing your expertise to us, Attorney Cruz. Ito po ay virtual certificate, but we will give you the physical certificate po soon. Again, thank you very much, and on behalf of the teachers, the administrators, and the participants, attendees of this webinar, our sincerest gratitude to you, Attorney, for sharing your expertise with all of us.
Thank you for having me, Ma'am Des. Thank you, Trimex.
Attorney. Now, before we officially end our webinar, please be reminded of the following. To our participants, you need to answer an evaluation form that will be sent to you via email before you receive your certificate of attendance. Please give the College of Education at least 2 weeks to process your certificates. And then lastly, we are now accepting enrollees for the coming school year 2021-2022. Please visit our website, trimexcolleges.edu.ph, or follow us at our official Facebook page. Again, thank you very much for your active participation. Stay safe and God bless us all.
Thank you, Ma'am Des. Ganda ng kilay mo.
Ay, taray. Thank you.
Thank you po. TikTok ko magkang-jowa ng estudyante.
Ganda ng kilay ni Ma'am Des.
Kayo maingay.
TikTok ko magkang-jowa ng estudyante, ha?
Ako ba ikaw ulit? Kapakawala niya mo. Hindi.
Ang ganda ni Ma'am Pradel, fresh.
Bongga naman ito ni Big Boy. Sexy.